name is Vea, and I'm here planning my own magic into my everyday life. Today I'm planning a little magic into the kitchen. This video will be part 2 of the month of meal series where I show you how to plan for, shop for, and cook for a month of meals. If you're interested in seeing how I turn my month of meal plans into a really simple, reusable, and functional grocery list, then please keep watching. Welcome back to the month of meal series. This is part 2 where I'll be showing you how I organize my grocery list and what I use as a master list right now so that I don't have to recreate my grocery list all the time, and it doubles as an inventory keeper. So the things that you'll need are your meal plan. So I'm going to use the meal plan that we made in the last video where I created a month of meals in 3 easy steps. If you didn't see that video, you can tap the eye above to go watch it and then come back to this video. You also need either a pen, or if you followed my advice on color coding your meal plan, get the same color pens that you use. This is the step of the month of meals series and process that will make the most sense for the color coding, and these will be the most useful. You will also need a sheet of paper, or you can take it a step further, and if you are handy with Excel or Microsoft Word, just print out like a spreadsheet that has the categories on top. I just use this one. I've used this one for years actually, and I happen to have it on my computer, so I reprinted it out. I used to use a laminated version of this with a with a wet erase pen, and that made it easy to reuse. And you can also recreate this, or you can just use a sheet of paper and put your categories on the top. Now I put my categories on the top in a way that navigates through my store. I shop in bulk at Sam's Club for the most part of my grocery list and my meals. If I need a few things here and there throughout the month, I'll go do that on a weekly basis or even a bi-weekly basis depending on what it is. So you'll be able to see what those things are for me while I make my list out. But I'll also do it in a way that can help you kind of compare and see what items might you be able to buy in bulk that you may not have realized. And if anyone's curious, the basic Sam's Club membership is $45, and this is not sponsored or anything. I'm just letting you know because I would want to know. It's $45 for the year, and I think it's $60 for the Plus membership, which lets you like shop early and things like that. So you can consider that if you're thinking of going from regular grocery shopping to wholesale grocery shopping after this video. Okay, let's get into the grocery list making. So what I am going to do, and what you should do, is take the pen that's the color of your first group of meals, which is your first day, your first theme, whatever, going vertically. And you're basically going to go across your list in that color, writing out everything you will need for these meals. And I'm going to do this week in real time so that you can see it, but so the video doesn't get too long, I'll do the other ones sped up, but just to break it down a little bit. So for the first meal, spaghetti and meatballs. So I know that I'm gonna need ground beef. So in the meats category, I'm gonna put ground beef in this pink color. I'm also gonna put ground pork because that's what I use to make my meatballs. And then I'm going to put eggs because I know I need those for my meatballs. I'm gonna put breadcrumbs. And I'm gonna put seasonings. Now, seasonings is a miscellaneous or staples item, meaning something that I will always check to see if I need, or I will always make sure that I have. This is how you can create your staples list, so I'm gonna put that in black. I can make meatballs with basic salt and pepper, but sometimes I may want to have a specific seasoning that I know makes them taste better, so I might check for those. So that's to make my meatballs. I also know that I'm going to need spaghetti, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I know that I want diced tomatoes for my sauce. I also would like onions, which are gonna come out of the produce. I like to get fresh ones, and I do the canned tomatoes. I also might need tomato paste. I'm making this list right now thinking of every single ingredient from the recipe. The only things I'm kind of consolidating are like things that really are almost typical to be in your pantry, like seasonings. But notice I'm still putting seasonings on here so that I don't forget. I could run out of salt and forget because I didn't write it, because I'm assuming I always have it, and that's not what you want to do. So make this list based on the notion that you don't have anything at all in your pantry, freezer, fridge, or whatever. That's how you're going to create your master list. Okay, so I got my sauce ingredients, tomato paste, diced tomatoes, onions, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, you guys, so please forgive me if I pause here and there. And that's it. I think that's all that I use for my spaghetti and meatballs. If you want to use things to go with your meals, like if you plan on having salad with this meal, make sure you add things like that. And it'd also be helpful if you are creating this monthly meals for the first time. Until you get used to the meals that you have, add your sides, add your, your salad or the vegetables that you like to have on the side, so that you don't forget to add them to your grocery list. Okay, so that's all I need for my first meal. Now my second meal is salmon dinner, so I know that I'm going to need salmon, and I usually use frozen broccoli for this. And I like the roasted potatoes that they have in the like pre-made aisle, but I'm gonna go ahead and do red potatoes, and this will let me know to look for either version. That's typically all we have. Again, seasonings. I also know that I like to have lemon. Sliced lemon is nice, so I'm gonna go ahead and put lemon. And then I'm going to also put butter, because I cannot have a piece of fish without some butter. Okay, so here is where you start to see things repeat, and I'm gonna show you how I mark or indicate that they repeat. So meatloaf has the same base as the meatballs. I need ground beef and pork, I need eggs, I need onions, I need tomato paste, I need literally the same things, the seasonings. So in order to indicate that I need those ingredients twice, I'm going to take a dot in this color and put it next to that item. Now, if you are building your master list for the first time, you could also just write it again. And I do suggest that you do this if you're making this list for the first time, to help you really visually see how much of that ingredient you need. If you're doing this for the first time, make sure you write those things more than once, even if you're doing it for the entire week, because that's what will help you be able to really visually see how many times you need that ingredient, especially if you find yourself, running out of ingredients often. Even though you're shopping regularly, you might not be buying enough of an item because you don't realize how much you need of it until you see it laid out. So that's why I recommend writing things twice if you're not used to making grocery lists and stuff like that. If you are used to making grocery lists and stuff like I do, or just often, I just use a dot to indicate next to it that, oh, I need ground beef for not only one meal, but two. Not only this meal, but a second one. And that's how I just kind of indicate that I'm doing it. So I'll make that dot next to eggs. I'll make that dot next to onions. I will make that dot next to breadcrumbs and tomato paste. That lets me know that those ingredients are going in another recipe or dinner for the month. Okay. I also like to have green beans. We do canned green beans. And we also like to have rice and mashed potatoes on hand. Our son can't have the mashed potatoes, the box kind, because they usually have like powdered milk and stuff in them, so we make rice for his plate. And he loves meatloaf and meatballs, so it's one of his favorite meals, so I'm gonna make sure I have those ingredients. And I also need butter for the green beans and seasonings, which is a staple. So I don't double mark the seasonings because I just know I need seasonings to cook in general. So that's why I don't kind of dot the seasoning ones. All right, so barbecue baked chicken. I know I need chicken thighs. I know I need barbecue sauce. We do green beans with this meal as well. And we usually do rice with this meal as well. And then the steak and potatoes, so I'm gonna get some ribeye because we do it once a month, so make sure we get a good steak. We need the butter. I need garlic, cloves, I need baking potatoes, and I'm also going to put in the fridge section baked potatoes because Sam's Club sells this big 4-pack of pre-baked loaded baked potatoes. So instead of buying a big bag of baked potatoes, I can just buy a few because that's generally when we have baked potatoes. So when we have this meal, so if they have this, and I'll put a question mark, if they have this, I usually won't buy this. If they don't have this, then I'll buy this. And all of my meals for Sunday are listed out by grocery ingredients. Wait, let me make sure that I do everything for the steak. Sour cream. Sour cream and cheese. That's for that stuff. Okay, so now I have all of my Sunday meals grocery lists made out. Now I'm gonna switch to orange, and I'm gonna do the same exact thing for Mexican Monday meals, and I'm gonna do the same thing in purple for One Pan Wednesday meals, and the same thing for Friday. And when we get to Friday, I'll come back so that I can talk about that, because if you watch my video, you know that Fridays are not as solid and set as the other days of the week. All right, so for Figure It Out Fridays, as I was saying, these meals are not always planned out, or we don't always have these meals on the specific night. So these ingredients I probably would not put on a monthly grocery list. I would put them on a weekly grocery list on the week that I know that we're going to have, you know, fried catfish or whatever the case may be. I will say you could buy the meat for these meals and not necessarily all of the ingredients. However, to save time and money, I would make sure I'm stocked up on things like frying oil. Like, do I have enough oil for the month if I want to fry something? The same thing with hamburger buns. You know, I may want to keep those on hand. Now, the hamburgers and fries, sometimes we use the frozen patties, so if I have some of those in the freezer, or if my son's been asking for, you know, hamburgers a lot, then I will just get the frozen patties and keep those in the freezer. So Fridays will usually go on here. And now that you have your items listed out by meal, now you want to make your staples or your miscellaneous list. So that is the things that you feel like you're always going to need. So eggs, and they're for things other than these meals. So like, I already have eggs, but I know that I need eggs in general for the breakfast that I'm gonna make. You also could use this time or space to write down things that you know you want to get from your particular favorite store. And writing in the black just indicates to me that it's not necessarily for a recipe, it's for something else. Also the fruit, I should have put that over here because they have these really convenient bags of frozen fruit that I use for smoothie. The point is, I'm gonna use this black in this section to write down things that I probably always need to re-up on. It doesn't necessarily mean that I need to get it at Sam's Club or in bulk, but I want to make sure that I get it. Now here's the part where you can start to figure out, while you're sitting down to do this, if you have a lot of items and they can be transferred into bulk. So if you have written an item several times and it's probably a pricey item or one that would not be abundant enough if you just bought a small amount, you should probably buy it in bulk. For example, you guys saw me put ground beef a bunch of times. I have it here indicated by the other dot. I have it here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 meals worth of ground beef throughout the month. Probably gonna need a good amount of that. I'm getting that in bulk. Now, the other qualification for me to buy in bulk is if it's pricey. So salmon can be expensive depending on where you're getting it. However, Sam's Club usually always has a great deal on it. I can get a whole side of salmon for about $20, and they also have it skinless, so most of the work is done for me. I'm getting that at Sam's Club, so I'm gonna put that there. Chicken thighs are typically cheap everywhere I go, but I want my chicken thighs in bulk because I don't want to have to go to the store for all of my chicken thigh meals. I can get one package of chicken thighs and it'll last me probably for 2 months of meals for my chicken thighs. So that is why I get my chicken thighs in bulk. The ribeye is the same thing as the salmon. It's more expensive in other places, so I'm getting that in bulk. Also, I need steak for several meals, as you can see. I would say that if you're what am I doing, y'all? If you're considering buying meats in bulk, or if you're kind of on the fence because you feel like, man, when you buy meat in bulk, it's so expensive. That is very true. But usually when you do that, you only have to do it once every other month. You don't have to do it as often as you're buying meat at the regular grocery store. And if you don't believe me, do a month of regular grocery shopping and save your receipts, and then try a wholesale store and look at your receipt and compare and just see which was better, and keep track of how long you kept that meat in your freezer while you're actually cooking, so that you can truly compare. I'll probably have a video coming up on, you know, the actual detailed pros and cons of bulk shopping and how I make it work through my month or months to give you guys more of an idea, so stay tuned for that video. Now, another thing that you did not see me list out here is things that I definitely need, such as lunch items for our son. So he definitely needs lunch items all the time. That goes on to the list with the miscellaneous or the staples as well. So almond milk is actually something that we get for him, as well as the bread. But he also needs juices, chips or crackers, some type of cookies, and he gets fruit cups or applesauce, and he gets lunch meat, and he gets peanut butter, and he gets jelly. Is that everything? Yeah, that's everything. So that is everything that we get for lunch, and I do get those in bulk because we go through that all the time. That is one of the things that I was mentioning. I alternate with other things that I don't need every time I go to the grocery store. So one month I get all the lunch foods and convenience items for our son, and then the next month I'll do like all my seasonings and oils and condiments. I'll re-up on those things instead. So the amount usually balances back out, and I spend the same amount on groceries each time, but I swap them. So going back to my categories, to make this, you know, list work for you, shop in this order, or the order that your store goes into, or the order that makes sense for you. For me, I start with meats because I don't like the whole cross-contamination. I feel icky about raw chicken packages sitting on top of produce, so I get the meats first and put them in the back of my cart. But anyway, you guys will go grocery shopping with me next time. But I go through my store this way, and by the time I get here, I know that I'm finished. Bonus tip: this also helps me make sure that I don't have a lot of room in my cart for snacks. If you are shopping based on your categories in the store and your basket is full, you're less likely to start putting stuff in it that you don't need, especially in a bulk store, because it takes up so much space in your basket. So don't sleep on organizing your categories. You only have to do it once, and it will help you multiple times, I promise you. Okay, so after you do this, your lists are done. If you are going to make this list, you can actually make this whole list in the computer. If you do want to make a spreadsheet like this, you can type these items in instead of writing them down. That's what I've done in the past when I have my laminated version. And then the way that I would use it is I would just go to the store with this, and I would check off in pencil how, you know, when I got those items, and then I'll erase them. And if you do need to go to more than one store, you could always you know, leave the ones that are unchecked, such as almond milk. I usually don't buy that in bulk because our son doesn't like the one that's not sweetened with vanilla, of course. So if they don't have a sweetened one at Sam's Club, I'll go to Albertsons sometimes after I leave Sam's Club, sometimes not, depending on what time I go, and I will know that I still need almond milk or whatever's not checked off, obviously, is what I'll use this list for, and then I'm done. Wait a minute though, wait a minute. Before you leave with this list, to the grocery store, use this list to shop your house. Especially if this is your first time bulk shopping, please check your pantry, your freezer, your fridge, and see what you have already. Check it off so that you don't buy double, unless you want to. I have been bulk shopping for years, and sometimes I still forget what is at the bottom of my deep freezer. I could have sworn I knew we were out of hot dog buns, but I had a bag stashed in my deep freezer. So please shop your house. That is how you turn this grocery list into a inventory tracker as well. And if you aren't going to use a laminated one, if you're going to use maybe reprint it out each month, you can mark the month that you shopped for, and everything that has a check mark, you'll know that you bought it, and you can even put your receipt behind it, so you know how much of it you got. And that's how you keep track of everything that you have in your house. Shopping your house also helps you to assess for how much space you have for items that you want to buy at the store and how much you don't. In the next video in the month of meal series, I am going to take you grocery shopping with me, but I will say, if you can't wait for that video, just a few more grocery shopping tips. Eat breakfast and start early. Do not ever go to the grocery store on an empty stomach, especially a bulk grocery store on an empty stomach. Have a smoothie, have a sandwich, have something in your stomach before you go shopping. Also, going to the store early, especially a wholesale store, it helps you get in and out of there way faster. It gives you ample time to unpack your groceries, and maybe, just maybe, even cook dinner that night. I'm completely guilty of doing this entire process and then ordering takeout. No judgment. No judgment here. Do not feel bad if you do that. But if you go early, you might not have to do that. Please feel free to comment down below if you have any tips for me, if you like this video, if these tips were helpful to anyone out there. I'd greatly appreciate it so much. And happy shopping.